So beginning in Banana Asana today, the heels are on one side of the mat. Maybe that inside foot is crossed over the outside foot, maybe not. The upper back shifts in the same direction that your heels are going, but your shoulders and your hips remain on the floor. Breathe into that outside arc of the body and really feel the breath move through your ribs. So again, today we'll be moving through, most of the practice is very yin oriented. So you want to hold some poses, flex your Marion, and make some space in your body. Take another breath in and out here on this side of Banana Asana. And begin to slowly shift yourself back to center. So not coming right to the other side, we're going to stay in center for a few breaths. Now if you want to take a full body stretch from here, you can do that. If you want to draw your knees to your chest, you can do that. If you prefer to curl rather than extend, these are all just options. Lots of bus stops today, so I'm going to make some offerings, and you take the ones that call to you. Begin to lengthen your body again, and we'll take Banana Asana second side. So shift your heels to the opposite side of the mat. Again, you can cross that inside ankle over the outside ankle. Shift your upper back in the same direction as your heels, but keep your hips and shoulders really grounded from here. Any option that works with your arms is a good one. So you can goalpost the arms or frame your face or stretch your arms up and above your head, maybe letting the biceps rest next to your ears. But above all, be comfortable and breathe into the outside of the ribs and the hip, creating that nice arced line in the outside of your body. Take one more long breath in and out here. And begin to shift yourself back to center. Again, either taking that long full body stretch or perhaps a hug in. We're moving into Supta Baddha Konasana now, with the soles of the feet together and the knees apart. So it's early. You might want to tuck blocks underneath the outer knees, if that works best for you. Fold the soles of the feet together and the knees apart. Blocks can be at the lowest level, or maybe the middle level works better. It's early. So take the option that serves you and your body best. No suffering, no hurt, just breath. we had Kevin Karras and Matthew De Robertis here on Saturday night for that yoga nidra experience that I was talking about. And I really forgot how much I needed that, how much I needed the yoga nidra, how much I needed the stillness. I'd like to share a passage from John Kabat-Zinn that I think I pull this out a few times a year, usually because I need it, and hopefully you do too. If we're not careful, it's all too easy to fall into becoming more of a human doing than a human being, and forget who is doing all the doing and why. Coming into a yin practice is about getting quiet and listening to your body. The sensations you're experiencing, and what comes up in your head and your heart. Keeping the block underneath your right knee now, begin to fold your left knee on top of your right knee, coming into a little clamshell twist. So again, you can take any arm position that works well for you. So that might be a T, that might be a goalpost. Breathe into your left ribs and your left side. Begin to slowly open the left knee. Pause in center for a full length of breath in Supta Baddha Konasana once again. And then begin to stack the right knee on top of the left. Again, you can keep that block underneath your left knee. Notice the difference between your left side and your right side, and how your body is receiving the twist on each side. Take one more long breath in and out here. And begin to slowly return to Supta Baddha Konasana with soles of the feet together, knees wide. A Taoist proverb that connects to our theme today is this: we cannot see our reflection in running water. It is only in still water that we can see. Yes, your mind will get busy as we move through this practice today. Finding stillness in your physical body starts to encourage the mind to still, the mind stop, to get a little more quiet. Begin to stack your left knee on top of your right knee and then roll onto your right side, so removing that block from underneath you. Press down into the earth and bring yourself up to a seated pose. Now, if you have a blanket, you can sit up on a blanket. And we'll be moving through some shoulder openers and heart openers here, seated. So if you want to grab your blanket or a block, whatever you'd like to sit on, the folded edge of it, you get your knees a little bit lower than your hips. So you can even fold that again if you like, Jessica. Got all kinds of stuff to sit on today. So whatever your easy seat is. If sitting with your legs crossed isn't easy, then extend your legs. Or come into Baddha Konasana, seated. Whatever your easy seat or comfortable seat looks like, sit well. Close your eyes or take your gaze to the earth. Take a moment to, again, connect to the mind stuff, see what's going on in there. Notice how your physical body is feeling after some supine poses. Begin to rest your fingertips on the earth next to your hips. And keeping your left hand down, begin to sweep your right arm up and above your ear, taking a simple side bend. Breathe through your right ribs. Again, channeling that banana asana we were doing earlier. Feel some space there. What space did you create? Keep the right shoulder soft. Reach that right arm up now and take your right hand across to your left knee. Crawl your left fingertips behind your hip for a twist. Sit well again. Stack your head over your hips. Long breaths in and out. And keeping your right hand on your left knee, begin to take the left hand across to your right knee. And maybe you can hang on to your knees. Maybe the elbow cross is enough, and you can just lightly rest your hands on your thighs. Find a cat back. So curl your spine, maybe even dropping down behind your tailbone. And tuck your chin in towards your chest. Easy breath in and out here. Begin to bring your spine more upright now and bring opposite hands to opposite shoulders. Give yourself a hug. Keep the shoulders soft, elbows down. Sit tall. Use your hands as a nice reminder on the shoulders to bring your shoulders away from your ears as far as you can. Open your arms now to a nice big T. And maybe bring your hands slightly behind your shoulders. Feel your heart peel open. If you need to bend your elbows, bend your elbows. And take a deep breath in and out from here. Begin to turn your palms out now and press out like you're pressing into two walls. Really spread your fingers wide. Release your wrists and the palms of your hands. Keeping your fingers spread wide, begin to turn your fingertips down. Keep pressing out through the palms of your hands, spread your fingers wide. And begin to sweep your arms all the way up and gather your hands at your heart. We'll take that whole thing to the other side. Fingertips rest on the floor. Take that left arm up and above your ear. And you can goalpost that arm. You can bring your hand behind your head. Whatever makes the most sense for you. Keeps you happy, no suffering, no hurt, and feeling really safe here on your mat today. Breathe into those left ribs. And sitting tall one more time, lift your left arm and cross it over to your right knee. Bring your right fingertips behind your hip for a little twist. Draw your belly in, sit tall with head over hips. Keep your left hand on your right knee and begin to cross your right arm over towards the left knee. Again, you can lightly rest your hands or maybe you can grab your knees. Find a little cat back. So curl your chin in around your spine. Again, maybe even rolling back towards the space behind the sitting bones. Relax your chin into your chest. Relax the back of the neck. Soften your shoulders. Take one more breath. Begin to lengthen your spine and reach for your shoulders now with the cross of the arms. With your hands on your shoulders, soften your shoulders down and away from your ears. Sit tall. Take one more breath, really getting the shoulders low. And on your next inhale, arms to a T. Sweep them all the way out. Maybe hands can float a little bit behind your peripheral view here. Keep the heart stretching forward. Gaze is soft or close your eyes. Bringing your arms back to center, press out through the palms of your hands again. Imagine that you've got little tennis balls in your hands now and you're cupping your hands around that tennis ball. Curl your fingers in. And then again, turn the fingertips down, thumbs up. Keep stretching out through the palms and wrists. And then soften your hands, reach all the way up. Return your hands to heart center. Allow your hands to rest on your thighs and pause right here. Notice what you notice about any sensations in the shoulders or in your neck. Couple of options here. You can bring your hands to interlace behind your head. If that's not kind for your shoulders today, I want you to just leave your hands on your knees. So one over the other. Take a breath in here. Find some traction here. So press your head into your hands if your hands are back there. If not, just sit up really tall. Draw your chin and your throat in. We'll begin to slightly tip the chin up. If you have your hands behind your head, just find that little tiny bit of traction and resistance. Begin to circle your chin to the right, looking down towards the right shoulder, going nice and slow, and then dropping your chin towards your chest. Turn your chin to the left, and all the way back up to the sky. Look slightly up, and then bring your chin right back to center, parallel to the floor. We'll do that one more time. Lift your chin. If you have your hands, resist your hands. This time taking it to the left first. Make a big circle with your chin, taking it towards the shoulder and towards your chest, over to the right, all the way back up to the sky, and back to parallel. Blink your eyes open, and we'll bring ourselves into a table pose. So spin your knees around. If you'd like to pad your knees with a blanket, by all means do that. So if your knees are a little sensitive today, just unfold that blanket and tuck it under your knees. And with your hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, start to find a sleepy cat and cow pose here. So not overdoing it in any way, just finding the exhale and curving your spine. And letting that flow into the inhale to open your heart. And again, let it be sweet and slow and exactly what you need it to be right now. Not overdoing it in any way. Find a neutral spine and walk your hands slightly forward of your shoulders. So you're in a long supported plank here. Begin to shift your shoulders over the heels of your hands and then begin to shift your hips slightly back. You can curl or uncurl your toes. So find those shapes of cat-cow here, but we're doing it with a longer spine. So lift the heart as you come forward. And curl back, almost like you want to come to child's pose, but we're not quite getting those hips back to the heels just yet. Inhale, shift forward, heart forward. And exhale, shift back, hips back. Move through that gentle flow one more time, and then we'll find something that looks like child's pose or puppy pose. So perhaps bringing big toes together, knees apart to sit back on your heels. Maybe bringing a block in to put underneath your forehead, so you're not coming down quite as far. Maybe keeping your hips above your knees for puppy. Bringing a block under your head or block to the floor. So it depends on the flexibility of your knees, how you're feeling in this moment, and not comparing this pose or this practice to anything that you've done before this. Begin to lift back up into your table pose and make your way down to your belly now, coming into a Sphinx pose. So wiggle yourself down to the floor. If you still have the blanket, that's totally fine, or you can get rid of it. Lengthen back through your legs and bring your elbows underneath your shoulders. Pressing into your hands and elbows, lift your heart. So your hands should be as wide as your elbows and elbows underneath your shoulders. So you can always measure that by bringing your hands to your outer triceps and then bringing the hands back to center. Stay connected to your core from here. So really press into your toenails, engage your kneecaps and your quads to lift your heart, lift your low belly. Begin to slowly bring your forearms down to stack them, and we'll take the right knee out to the right. So it might look like a little tree pose. Bring the sole of your foot to the opposite leg. It might look like a frog pose, where you can bring your knee, hip to knee to heel in a 90-degree angle. Some options for your head, you can bring it into stacked arms. You can come to a long Sphinx pose, so not bringing the elbows directly under the shoulders. Or you can wiggle your elbows up to a full Sphinx pose, if your hip has the bandwidth for that. Let it evolve. We're going to be here for a little bit. Find some heaviness in the front of that right hip. Let go of as much muscle energy and tension as you can. Hard on your hip? Okay. Yeah, you can keep your leg close to the other leg and just barely turn your knee out, or just extend your leg straight back. Take one more breath in and out here. If you're in a Sphinx pose, I'm going to ask you to begin to come down. We'll tuck that right leg in next to the left leg. Take a moment to shimmy your hips. So let your hips sway a little bit from side to side. Feel your toenails, your legs on the floor, and reorient yourself to the center. And then we'll take it to the second side. So bringing that left knee out. And just notice one side will feel completely different from the other. So you can come more to that tree shape, where you have a tiny bend to the knee, knee externally rotated. Maybe you can bring that knee out to that 90-degree angle. You can keep your head in stacked arms, or come to a long Sphinx or a full Sphinx. Again, let go of the gripping and the tension here, not only in your hips, but in your jaw, in your shoulders. Notice where you're holding. If at some point it's too much and you need to tuck those toes back in, that's exactly what you'll do. Take one more breath where you are. And again, begin to slide that left leg long. Shimmy your hips from side to side. Bring your forehead into stacked forearms once again. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders. Stretch back to puppy or child's pose one more time. So again, big toes kiss, knees wide, block under the head, hips on the heels, or maybe keeping your hips up and above the knees. Spine long. Walk your hands in and underneath your shoulders. Grab your two blocks, and we're coming to low lunge. So maybe bringing that blanket underneath your knees again. Step forward with your right foot. Bring your right knee over your right heel and settle in here. We'll hold low lunge and have Hanuman, but we'll floss it out first. So coming onto the blocks, begin to shift your hips back, maybe lifting your front toes, maybe not at this point, but get into the whole foot. So shift forward, shift back, let the hips come back towards that left heel. At some point, you might start to peel those front toes away from the floor. But even keeping your foot on the floor, you'll start to feel those the right hamstrings, the right calf. Move slowly, move with intention. Maybe close your eyes and dive into it. Start to notice the physical sensations of the pose rather than seeing it with your eyes. The next time you shift your hips back a little bit, pause there. And again, maybe it's the tiniest bit of a shift. Maybe you can walk those blocks back and peel your toes away from the floor. Whatever your half Hanuman looks like today, take your time getting there. Stay tall and long through your spine and breathe into it. So if your toes are on the earth, just keep them there. Take a moment to find that stillness that Taoist proverb was talking about. Let yourself be that human being instead of a human doing. And landing and being okay with wherever you are right now. With your next breath, bend your knee again, and we'll hang out in low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Maybe you can wiggle back through your left knee, any amount. Go a little deeper in front of that left hip. Maybe not. Maybe this is exactly where you're meant to be. Close your eyes. Let your arms do a little bit of the work for you here. Hands on blocks. Keeping your left hand on the block, bring the right block in next to the left. And heel toe your right foot out of footprint, coming into a dragonfly or a lizard lunge. So maybe stacking those blocks one on top of the other so you can come into a deeper shape, forearms to the blocks. Again, taking out a little bit of that tension and muscle energy so you can be here and relax into it and hold. Find an opening where you didn't realize there was one. Begin to rise up again. Maybe taking one block in your hand or keeping your hand on a stack of blocks, we'll find a gentle twist. Turn your navel towards the right side of the room. Maybe you want to extend your arm to a goalpost or reach your arm back to find some space in the right side of the heart. Maybe keeping your hand on your thigh is the best place to land right now. Back toes can be curled or uncurled, whatever feels best for your knee and for that left side of the body. Take one more breath. Begin to slowly release, returning your hands to the blocks. Bring one block on either side of the foot, so heel toe that right foot back into center and tuck it back in to table. Stay up on your blocks for a moment and just allow your hips to shift a little to the left and to the right. And notice the difference between your right and your left side, which should be extremely noticeable at this point. Back to center, and we'll work that left foot up between the blocks. So step or drag it up there. You can pick it up there to get it up there. Left knee over your left heel. And here again, we'll come into some dynamic movement before we find the stillness. So shifting hips back, maybe keeping your toes on the floor. Maybe your hips only shift back a tiny bit, forward and back, but find a little bit of movement, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe at some point you can feel those toes away from the floor, maybe not. And that'll be a nice stretch to the top of the foot, which is a hard thing to get. Let your breath and your body guide the way for your movement today. Let your head move itself out of the equation. Take one more shift forward and back. And the next time you come back, stay in whatever shape that looks like. So maybe your toes stay on the floor. Maybe you can lift your toes a little or a lot. Use the blocks. Keep it really stable. Maybe you can close your eyes and turn inward, or maybe a gaze at the floor helps you to become more stable and free here. Breathe into the spots that you're gripping. Can you soften? Let go of the gripping in your kneecap, in your quads, and your hamstrings. With your next breath, begin to bend your knee, and we'll bring those blocks to the inside of the left foot again. Heel toe your left foot out, one footprint. Maybe stacking the blocks in some way to get your forearms down for dragonfly. Maybe wiggling back through the right knee, you've made some space. Again, take as much gripping and tension and muscle energy out of this as you can, and soften in, not only with the physical body, but also the mental body. If your mind is talking at you and bringing up judgmental things, zip it. Be with your breath. Wouldn't it be nice if it listened when we just said that? Zip it. Couple more breaths here. Again, scan your body, notice where you're gripping. Begin to rise back up to your hands. Again, placing that right hand on the stack you've already created, or maybe bringing one off the stack. Bring your left hand to your thigh and find a gentle twist. Soft shoulders, soft jaw. Maybe extend that left arm back. Take one more breath. And as you exhale, begin to bring it all back in. Heel to your left foot in. Separate your two blocks. Come back to that table shape with the hip dips or hip circles or maybe some cat and cow. What feels authentic to you and helps you get balanced? So you should definitely feel more balanced after doing the left side and the right side. But notice if there's something else that might bring you balance as we come to this piece of the practice. Come back, child or puppy pose. Again, using a block or creating a softer shape by placing your hands next to your heels or behind your heart in prayer. Hips can stay high or hips can be low. Take one more breath where you are and begin to work yourself up and grab your bolster. Make sure you have your two blocks in front of the bolster and you're going to sit right on the bolster. So I'm going to give you a couple of options, coming into swan or sleeping swan or perhaps simply taking sage pose for Radhajasana's twist. So you'll come and sit right up there at the top of the bolster and just make sure you have your two blocks up there to give you some leverage as you come back. We'll take the right calf first and hug the front of the bolster with the right calf. So you're going to wiggle yourself back like you feel like you're going to fall off, right? But just hug the front of the bolster with the right calf. Use your blocks to bring this left knee now to the back of the bolster. So this might be where you stay. This is called the Radhajasana's twist. And you can stack your blocks again and bring your forearms down. It's a really lovely opening in the right hip. Now if you can shimmy that left leg back and come to swan or sleeping swan, here's where you'll go. You can use those blocks for leverage, curl the left toes and begin to shift your left hip towards the bolster as well. So lengthening this left leg straight back. So coming into Radhajasana's twist with the knees soft, or somewhere in between, where your leg isn't quite so long, but your knee isn't as bent as the twist. So the bolster just gives us the bandwidth to make choices. Or to crawl around on the floor like Shirley. Shirley's like, I don't know. All right, so wherever you landed, take the judgment out, right? Be where you are. Try to come to something that's settled. So if that means stacking those blocks up again, so you can get those forearms down. So you can be here and breathe here. Let go of the judgment, let go of the mind stuff, and let your physical body be here, open and rest. It's about softening enough to get into the connective tissue here. So if you're creating tension, you're creating gripping, it's really hard for the in aspect of this practice to do its work. As you settle in, if you have your blocks up high and your hip starts to say, yeah, that's good stuff, maybe you can bring a block down to a lower level. Let your breath and the fact that you're really paying attention to that breath and not gripping work its magic on your body. How often in our day do we make time to be still so we can truly see a reflection of who we are? Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. twice as many poses as Chris would do in a traditional yin yoga practice today. So even though it feels like we're moving really slow and we've done very few poses today, it's a lot for a yin practice. So wherever you landed in your swan or sleeping swan on this bolster, which makes it a little extra sweet, bring yourself up and onto the 2 blocks. So separate the blocks. We'll come into more of a proper swan pose here. Lift your heart, ruffle those feathers forward, sit up nice and tall, pull your belly in, and sweep your shoulders back. Close your eyes for a moment. Where do you feel it? Can you feel the outer right hip? Can you feel the shoulders and shoulder blades soften? Take one more long breath in now here. Really relax on that exhale. Begin to blink your eyes open, and we'll bring everything back to center. So move those blocks and sweep that left leg forward as easily as you can. Give your legs a little wiggle here. And if you need to use the block under your left hand for support, begin to bring that right leg in. Just hook your arm around it. Give it a little love here. Ooh. You can shimmy it from side to side or give it a little wiggle. What's that? Slide your right leg long. We'll do the same thing on the left side. So bring the left calf, that left shin, to hug the front of the bolster. Again, almost so you feel like you're tipping off the back. Use your blocks to get your right knee behind the bolster. So again, we'll start with bent knees. So knees are like 90-90 here. So you can stay. You can stack your blocks and be right here. Or you can curl those right toes and start to work that right leg back, maybe a little bit longer, maybe all the way long so you can get the front of the right hip on the bolster too. So either taking this Bharadvajasana twist with 90-90 legs, somewhere in between pigeon and this twist. Again, you can stack those blocks in some way so that you can relax into the pose. Relax your hips. This bolster has you. It's got you. And let yourself get settled. As you settle, as your hips open, the sensations are less intense. Maybe you can bring a block in to a lower level. Or maybe you stay exactly as you are. If your mind starts with that chatter, focus on your breath. Perhaps even counting your breath up to 4 and down to 5 or 6 to begin to lengthen out the exhale. On your next in-breath, begin to slowly rise. Separate your blocks. And we're bringing that back leg forward again. Sitting right up on the top of the bolster. Again, if you need a block with your right hand for leverage, to hug that left knee in, give your legs a little wiggle. And then hug that left knee in, either giving it a couple nice squeezes here or a wiggle from side to side. Maybe you don't need a block and you can just squeeze it. Begin to bend your knees. We're coming down onto our backs here, so get rid of the bolster for the moment. Make sure you have a block and a bolster handy though as you come down. Bring yourself all the way to the floor. You can get rid of the blanket too. Grab your block and place your block between your inner upper thighs. Shoulder blades wrap behind your heart on the earth. Interlace your hands behind your head. No, we're not doing sit-ups, but we are going to do some really gentle core because it supports the low back and supports the abdominal muscles. So stack your knees and over your hips, heels coming right out of the knees. Squeeze the block. Hands are interlaced at the back of the head, but your head is staying on the earth. Your elbows are staying on the earth. Your shoulders are staying on the earth. Take a breath here and begin to knit the low belly down towards the floor. And as you exhale, keep the 90 degrees in your knees and slowly begin to tap your heels to the floor. Slowly stack your knees above your hips again. So now notice what sensations your body was sending you. That might have been too much to bring your heels down so far. So bring your heels to the point that your core really begins to notice. Take a pause there at the bottom of the breath. Then stack your knees above your hips again on the inhale. Continue to move to the pace of your breath. Not my words, not what your neighbor is doing, but the pace of your breath. Pay attention to dropping your belly button down towards your spine, to keeping your head heavy in your hands. Wake up your core muscles. Take one more round where you're dropping those heels forward wherever they land, and then stacking the knees above the hips again. Release your hands, grab the block, place your feet on the floor. Heel toe your feet wider than your hips. Open your arms to a T or goal post and begin to wiper your knees to the left and to the right. Working out the side body. We started with side body in Banana Asana. Working into the hips where we landed with that sleeping swan. Work it all out. Again, let your knees sway to the left and to the right on the pace of your breath, your movement, what your body needs. Not what your neighbor is doing, not my words, not my suggestions, but exactly what you need. Begin to slowly draw your knees back to center. Begin to bring your knees in towards your chest and give yourself a hug. Hug your right knee into your chest and place your left foot on the floor. Just keep your right knee in. Maybe you can lengthen your left leg long. Notice how that feels for your quads and hip flexors. Maybe keep that knee bent. Use your left hand to guide your right knee across your body for a gentle twist. You can put your bolster underneath that right knee. You can put a block underneath your right knee. Again, staying with an easy, balanced breath. If your breath becomes labored or anxious, you're going to back off the twist a little bit. Maybe even coming back to the hug. Begin to slowly unwind your twist. Give your right knee a hug in again. And bring the left knee in to meet the right. Keep your left knee in for the hug and send the sole of the right foot to the earth. Or again, perhaps you can lengthen that right leg long. That'll be a deeper stretch for quads and hip flexors, so take your time getting there. Use your right hand to draw your left knee across your body. Again, you can put a block or bolster underneath that knee. You can stay with a hug. Pay attention to the rhythm of your breath. Take one more breath where you landed and begin to slowly unwind your twist. Draw both knees into your chest one more time, maybe even drawing your nose up towards your knees for a big squeeze. And then begin to extend each leg, extend your spine, maybe reach your arms up and above your head for a long full body stretch. Now tense up everything in your body. And on an exhale, let it all go. Pause here. Do that one more time. On the inhale, stretch and tense everything up. Maybe even make fists with your hands. And on an exhale, let it all go. Take a moment to notice if there's one last pose, one last twist or stretch that your body's asking for. You have a bolster there. You can place that bolster underneath your knees for support, underneath your spine for a heart opener. I'll come around and give some assistance. From here, you can tuck a blanket underneath your head. You can bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart if your feet are up on a bolster, in Supta Baddha Konasana. We cannot see our reflection in running water. We cannot see our reflection in running water. It is only in still water that we can see. If your mind is busy, connect to your breath again. If you can Take a longer count on the exhale. And allow yourself to settle in, go a little deeper. Take a longer count on the exhale than the inhale. Take as much muscle energy out of this pose as you can. Take a long breath in and a soft sigh out. Notice what relaxes, what releases, where you can let go. Another thought from Jon Kabat-Zinn, the founder of the mindfulness movement, many, many years ago. The future that we want, this is it. This is the future of all the previous thoughts you've ever had about the future. You're in it. You're already in it. What is the purpose of all this living if it's only to get someplace else? And then when you're there, you're not happy anyway. You want to be someplace else. It's always for when I retire, when I graduate college, when I make enough money. This is your life. We only have moments. And this moment's as good as any other. It's perfect. Take a deep breath in and a soft sigh out. Begin to slowly move your fingers and your toes. Get reacquainted with your breath. Notice if anything in particular attached mentally for you during this time. Acknowledge it and set it aside. Make small movements to get yourself onto one side of your body, left or right. Whatever feels most authentic, most comfortable for you today, move yourself to that side. Press your hands into the earth and make your way to a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like. Sit well, head over heart, over hips. And close your eyes if that's comfortable, or take your gaze to the earth. Draw your hands to heart center. We cannot see our reflection in running water. It's only in still water that we can truly see. Thanks for taking time to slow down with me today. Move through a yin practice. Pay attention to the moment. And hopefully we can take some of those lessons with us off the mat. In gratitude to each of you for your time and your energy, we bow to one another as we say, Namaste. Namaste.